provocative, insulting. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I remember the first time I said it. I said it because I felt it and I believed it and it meant something to me to say it. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or unkind. I loved the way it made me feel to say it because it was natural. It reminded me of being who I started out being. After all, we all start out that way. We're all born that way. And then something happens to us and we're told to be somebody else or something else that maybe we're not meant to be. I rejoiced in the first time I said it because it was my truth. I remember the look on my mother's face when I said it, how my sisters recoiled when I said it, how my brothers thought she done lost her mind when I said it. But I said it anyway because it was my truth. And it was time for me to tell my truth without being told, you can't be that. I was coming out of my closet finally. And it felt good to come out of that closet, free and naked and sure of myself. And then they said, you can't be that, you can't do that, you can't say that. Aren't you one of us? Of course I'm one of you, but I'm not the same as you. And I've chosen to be something different. So the first time I said it, it shocked me too. Because you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to think that. You're not supposed to feel that. And if you do, you will be dealt with the way we deal with people who are different from us. But I'm not different from you. You were born just like I was born, the same way. And I just simply wanted to be what I was born all the time. So yes, I remember the first time I said it and I was told, you're going straight to hell for saying that. How dare you say that? And I began to feel so small when people would say, you have no right to say that. What kind of person raised you? Where did you come from? How could you be so disrespectful? Where is your reverence? But the more they said it to me, the more I started to feel like a rose growing up through the concrete, my stems standing up, my flower starting to bloom and open up. So I remember the first time I said it, and I wasn't going to be ashamed to say it. I remember the first time I said it, and I was not only not going to be ashamed to say it, but I was going to be proud to say it. And I was going to say it again, and I was going to say it up close to people. It was my truth. I remember the first time I said it. Do you remember the first time you said it? Do you remember what it made you feel like to say it? I went from being a wretch to a goddess. I remember the first time I said it, and I'm going to say it right now. I am an atheist. Black. What?
Right on.
And I started to question my beliefs and the lack thereof. And I started to question the sun and the moon and the stars. And I started to question life with God and life without God. And I started to question what was the motivation of God and what was the will of God. And I started to question the people that say they served God and believed in God and had reverence for God. And I started to question the hypocrisy involved in that process. And I started to question, and I started to question, and I started to question. stars to the sky, and what made God make them blue? How does God fill the oceans with water? How does He raise the moon? And where is God? Go to live in the summer. Does He laugh? Does He cry? And what does God ask to get Christmas morning? Does He make airplanes fly? Life's a mystery, a future none can see. But the older you grow, you'll soon come to know the answers that you see. And what made God send the snow and the winter? Why do good people die? And where is God when a baby is crying? Does He walk the sun? Life's a mystery, the future none can see. You ask what made God, I don't know. Very quickly, sit down. Because sometimes it gives you a cough. That doesn't normally happen to me. And I'm crying. Can someone give me a tissue, please? Well, I wasn't expecting this. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. For if God so loved the world, no child born could be a slave. Where is God when I cry at night, when I ask for his insight? I wait and I wonder if he'll ever come to me. And I've waited for so long, like a girl sitting and waiting for her prom date to come, and he never shows up. I waited for you to love me, to show me that I mattered to you, that I was something more than a filthy rag in your eyesight. I waited for you, God. I waited, and you never showed up. I wanted your grace to come and fall upon me and free me from the bondages of hatred and intolerance and rejection. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited in vain. So you forgive me if I'm angry at you, God. But I have a right to be angry at you because you let me down. And I still waited for you. And I got tired of waiting for you to be there when I struck my foot against the stone. I waited for you, for your will to be my will, and they come together to make something wonderful. Yes, I waited for you. I waited for you. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch. And that was the part I could no longer do because I was not a wretch. And I didn't want to be a wretch. What was a wretch? Wait a minute, why am I singing this? Can we go back? Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like who? When did I become a wretch? I started to think about that. Why would I be a wretch to God? And then I felt offended. I was like, wait a minute. Because, you know, some of us talk like, wait a minute. I'm a wretch. And then I started to read all these other things in the Bible. It said, you're a filthy rag in His sight and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know if this is right for me. So I went to my mother and I said to her, you know, I don't know how I feel about going to church every day. And she's like, that's okay, you just go. Because you got to go to church every day. And I said, well, what if I went every other day? And she was like, no, you got to go every day. And I'm like, well, what am I getting to go every day? She said, well, you're gaining favor with the Lord. I'm like, but I didn't do anything to the Lord. And then she said, well, you know, we're all born in sin. I'm like, well, wait a minute. What were you and Daddy doing that I ended up born in sin? And she couldn't answer these questions for me. And I was told, stop questioning. Stop asking. Just do it. Just do it. It was like Nike on prayer Nike. Like, you just do it. But I didn't want to do it anymore. See, for me, I started to feel like I was born an atheist. And do you realize all of you were born atheists? Every person born is born an atheist. You ain't supposed to say that. But I thought God was about speaking the truth. And I wasn't born a Catholic. I wasn't born a Baptist. I wasn't born a Muslim. I wasn't born Jewish. I was born with no belief system, one given to me. But it was also given to me in a way that made me say, I can condone what I would otherwise condemn. And I don't want to. I don't want to eat the blood, drink the blood, or eat the flesh of somebody I don't even know. I don't want to do these things anymore. I don't want to turn a blind eye when someone says they've been raped by a priest. I don't want that to be okay for me. Is it okay for that not to be okay for me? And my mother told me, well, just pray. Just pray. And I kept trying to figure that out. And then when I said, I don't want to pray, she said, you're a wretch. And it stunned me. Because I was still her daughter, her baby. But I was no longer her daughter, her baby. My decision to be who I wanted to be became an affront to the people that loved me. And for a long time, I lived in silence and quiet. Shh, don't say that. The reason I repeat this over and over again, because it took a coming out, a purging, a defiance. Well, I don't give a good God collard greens what you say. It is important to be me. It is important to live in this place where I say I can rejoice in all of the things that the earth has without confining myself to believe something that I don't feel is right for me. It was never an indictment of the church, although I think the church should be indicted, but that's a different show. But the point of this program was to say what it's like to be a black woman, atheist. I've had sisters tell me I never met a black woman that didn't believe in God. I never met a black woman that didn't go to church every day. What happened to you? What happened to me? How can you not love God? How can you not trust God? How can you not believe in God? Were you raped as a child? Because Christians will ask you these things. Something must have happened to you to make you turn away from God. And I said, something did happen to me to make me turn away from God. Do you read the newspaper? Do you watch television? Do you go out into your neighborhoods? Those are the things that happened to me that made me say, if there is a God, where is he? And if God lives in the people, where is the God in the people? I cannot imagine a God who owns lightning and thunder needing an army of humans with guns. Was I not supposed to say that out loud? No, you're not. I became jealous of Jesus Christ because I'm like, you're dating too many chicks. Every sister I know want to go out with you. She's in a personal relationship with you. I don't want a guy like that. I've dated him twice. No, thank you. And I tried to find the humor in it. Okay, so an older man was involved with a younger girl and he got her pregnant while she was sleeping, and that made me a little uncomfortable. And he left his son to be raised by another man. It was like, ghetto Bible. I'm sorry, maybe that's not a cool thing to say. But that's how it started to dawn on me, to get at me, to make me say, what? I don't want this anymore. 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 And I didn't want to be a wretch for not wanting it anymore. I simply wanted to be free. 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 And in being free of religion, I became more responsible for me. More responsible for me. More responsible for the decisions that I make, what I do with my life, because there is no one to give me a pass anymore. That's what I wanted, to be completely responsible for me. I need no God. I want no God. Why is that so wrong, Mother? Why is that so wrong, Father? Why is that so wrong, community? You say every person can be what they want to be, but this is what I want to be. Free to be me, without religion stamped on my chest, or a God that I have to pray to and obey and fear because he's jealous. Hold me, rock me, love me. But if you disobey, I will punish you and condemn you to all eternity in hell with fire. It turns out I actually like fire, so that's really not an issue for me. But it's the idea that those things were put into my mind as a child, and I was indoctrinated into having this fear of a God that I'm supposed to love unconditionally, and who loves me unconditionally unless something bad happens to me, and then that's somebody else's fault. I could no longer reconcile myself with all those different things. So I decided, for me, I will not be a wretch to God. I will not ask you for your forgiveness. I'm simply going to live my life as if you don't exist, because for me you don't. For me you don't. I'm sorry if that offends you, God. It's not that I don't like you. You've done some really cool things according to other people. But it's those people that I watch and their behavior and their conduct and what they do in the world. And I can't reconcile myself with it anymore. So, Hail Mary, full of grace, give me a dress that's made of lace and let me go out on Friday night and live like a real little honest girl should. I tried. Let us pray. Trayvon Martin, Sean Bell, Rekia Boyd, and God Did Nothing. Heather Hyatt, Charlottesville, Parkland, and God Did Nothing. And God Did Nothing. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Viola Liuzza, the Mississippi 3, and God did nothing, and God did nothing, and God did nothing. 20 shots fired into the body of a sleeping black man, and God did nothing. God did nothing. Janir Rice, 12 years old, shot down for holding a gun in an apartment. God did nothing. God did nothing. God did nothing. God did nothing. 2015, 3,000 dead in the city of New Orleans. In the city of New Orleans. In my city of New Orleans. And God did nothing. And the people of Puerto Rico drowning. Still drowning, still dying. And God did nothing. God did nothing. God did nothing.
Bravo.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, will you do me the honor of introducing these wonderful musicians who have joined me this morning. On the drums, we have the wonderful Mark Van Aken. On the bass, the wonderful Santino Taffarella. And the incredible Kerry Frank on the note. Nobody will hang for the rape of my soul. No man will swing from a tree. Nobody will hang for the bastards I bore. And nobody weeps for me. No man shall have his blood spilled for a virgin's savagery. No man shall have his blood spilled, and no voice shouts travesty. You see, no one will swing for the rape of my soul, and no one weeps for me. Ave Maria, Ave Maria, Ave Maria. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace. Get me out of this place. Set me free. 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 Hear my prayer. Lord, oh Lord, hear my prayer. I'm drowning in Lake Pontchartrain for the whole world to see. My family, but when I get to the bridge, the Lord draws guns on me. Oh Lord, won't you hear my prayer? Won't you hear my prayer? The water's receding. I can see the Mississippi, and I'm swimming. Lord, I'm running, walking fast as can be. But when I get to the bridge, the Lord calls me a refugee. Oh Lord, don't you hear my prayer? Lord, oh Lord, don't you hear my prayer? Don't you even care? I gotta get home and find my family. We've been apart so long, tears are all I see. Please, Lord, make me right and have mercy on me. Oh Lord, won't you hear my prayer? Girl, what is you doing? Girl, what is you doing? Mom, I'm scatting. Like Aunt Clarice scat. We ain't gonna have no scared in my house. That's the devil's music. Did she say the what? I was baptized a junior missionary when I was 10. She was gonna be so disappointed because I discovered something that became like God to me, and it was called J-A-Z-Z. But I grew up in a very Christian Catholic home, and jazz was considered devil music, evil music. I'm like, I'm born in the city of New Orleans. You can't be serious. Jazz is everywhere. It's in the food, the red beans, the rice, the water, the air, the metaphors, the love making. So I began to sneak out and go into clubs to play jazz music. And I started developing a reputation around the great city of New Orleans for being a really good little singer. And I had to hide this from my family. So I would get up in the morning and say my grace and say my prayers and do my rosary. And at night I would sneak out and say I was going to go to Bible study. And I would go to Snug Harbor, where some of the greatest jazz musicians I thought in the world came to play. Music. And I was like, I like this because it brings everybody here as opposed to making people go in different directions. It turned me on. It was exciting. And then I got caught. I was a cheater. I was sneaking around on the thing that I was supposed to be committed to. But it didn't excite me. And I wanted excitement, and I wanted to feel alive, and jazz music made me feel that way. And then I was told I had to choose. And it was heartbreaking. So I became an opera singer when I was very young. Because opera was acceptable, but jazz was trouble. Because girls that sing jazz got pregnant. And girls that sing jazz took drugs. And girls that played jazz were jazzers. And I loved it. I loved that music and the excitement of it. But I had to make a choice about it. And for a long time I walked away from it because I was made to feel that it was wrong for me. The reason that I do this show, and this is sort of an excerpted version of this show, it's not to tell people not to be religious. That's not my goal. It's not to tell you that your faith is bad for you. That's not my interest. But what about the person that says, I want to sneeze without being told, God bless you? What about the person that says, excuse me, don't pray for me. It's really all right. My response to that is always, but send money, because anybody's interested. But I wrote this show specifically for Black women who have come out and said, this is my new life, and this is what I want to live, and this is how I want to live, and this is how I want to raise my children. So when you grow up in a community where you're told you can only be one thing or a version of a thing, it changes you. It's like being a minority. You're there, but you're not quite there. You're always sort of on the subpar. And I didn't want to live like that anymore. I don't want to be a minority in a nation where I'm a citizen. And I want to be just as free to say, no thank you to God as someone says thank you to God. And with all the disappointments that religion, the idea of religion did to me, I wanted to create an opportunity to say it's okay to be a non-believer. But what do you live for? And as an atheist, I want to be able to say, I live for the truth, and I live for what is just, and I stand for what is right. There's a wonderful woman in my life named Jane Elliott. She's been my mentor, and she's been my friend. Some of you may know her as the woman who in 1968, after the assassination of Martin Luther King, did an exercise called the Blue-Eye, Brown-Eye exercise. This woman has been so extraordinary to me because she has taught me the importance of what it means to be just. And for me, if I had to have a religion, and if I had to practice something, it would be the practice of being just. Let me tell you why that's important. And let me tell you why that's important as an atheist. When I do what is just, that is not about love. If I treat you in a way that is just, I'm treating you in a way that is automatically equal. And love will happen by default. When have you not loved someone who treated you justly? When have you not loved someone who defended you because you were in the right? When have you not loved someone who stood up for you because they knew you were in the right? That is what it means to be just. And that is what I want to be as an atheist. I want to stand for what is just and what is correct. And if I do that, hopefully love will come. And if more of us learned to be just to one another, and kind to one another, and open to one another, and truthful with one another and ourselves, if we made the choices to say, I can do this because it is easy, or I will do this because it is right, imagine where we would be as a society, as a people, as a culture, as a country, as a world. And so when I look at religion and what religion has brought, and I look at some of our world leaders who stand up and say, I'm an evangelical and I'm a Christian, but what does your behavior say? Because if that is your conduct, if that is your behavior, if that is what you portray to the world, why would I want to be a part of that? I don't. So how do I create a world? What do I do to create a community where people come? I do not need a God. I do not need a rosary. I do not need a crucifix to do all those things. And that is what this show is about. That's what inspired this show. It's a little disconnected today, but I'm so glad that you invited me here because as an atheist black woman, there are not many doors that are open to me anymore. Who you choose to be. And nothing from today comes more than this. I want to inspire all of you to go out and be proud and speak up and stand up and support those people like myself who say, I just want to live in a world where I can take away everything else that's been put forth me, all the indoctrination, and I can choose to be a person of character, of conviction, of strength and power and pride. I wrote this song. I wrote this song when I became an atheist. So of all the songs that I've performed tonight, this afternoon, this morning, I didn't even know where I am. This was a song that I wrote because I am an atheist. The other songs I wrote as I was transitioning back into being what I call a true non-believer. can there be such a thing? A life without God, my wildest dream. A life without God is a life sin-free, surely born again. My Savior is me. A life without God, the only life for me. Heathen perhaps, but with no apology. A life without God, can such a life there be? I learned about God, and that truth set me free. A life without God is the only life for me. Atheist, black woman is who I choose to be. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, so very much. On the drums, Mark Van Aken. On the bass, Santino Tapparella. Our musical director in this wonderful gentleman, the great Carrie Frank. I love that hair. Yes, I remember the first time I said it, and I remember the last time I said it, and it gave me great joy to say it. And I say to you, have no fear, for if you have love in your heart, then freedom is here, and you need not bend your knees and bow your head. Stand up and know that you are great, and the future awaits, for we are who we choose to be, and today I choose to be free. Holding me accountable for every decision I make. I choose to be free. I choose to be free. And I am free to be who I choose to be. Atheist, black woman. That is me. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite all of you to come out on this Thursday night to the Gardenia in Hollywood. I will be doing a show called Unrequited. Proceeds will help the Environment and People Foundation, and an organization that is also very near and dear to my heart as a cancer survivor. It's called Jazz Musicians Against Cancer. And I'm inviting you all into this show because I think it is so important that we as the secular humanist community know that art is there for us too. So I hope you will come out and join me. I'll give you more information if you'd like. Thank you so very much. Visit me at my website, www.sandrabooker. If you took pictures, I'd love to see them, so hashtag me at Sandra Booker Music. I want to thank Maya Gilmore for coming out and recording today. I want to thank Christine Jones, Evan, everybody here at Atheist United. Thank you so much for making me feel like I have a home.